Just after midnight on July 23rd in 2023, someone gripped by hate threw an explosive through the front door of the Community Unitarian-Universalist Church in Plano, Texas. And their welcome area went up in flames, and by some strange miracle, the fire was put out before spreading. Of course, a great grief descended on this congregation as they tried to process what had happened, why, and what in the world would come next. Cards of support quickly began arriving, first from the surrounding community, known friends and neighbors, and then it spread, and they started to arrive from outside Plano and outside Texas and even outside the United States, from other Unitarian Universalists, from other faiths, in other languages, a diversity even of ideologies, all extending their love, their prayers, and their support. And this unexpected outpouring of care and compassion, they report, literally kept them going. And they decided they could not get rid of one of those cards, so they decided to start hanging them in their sanctuary. And the entirety of those sanctuary walls became so full that it had to spread out of the sanctuary into their church halls, and then throughout the walls of their social hall and conference rooms. They said, quote, "We felt literally held in the embrace of friends and neighbors within our faith and beyond." And then the UUA regional staff took time to fly in to be with them as they processed the trauma. And our UUA president arrived to offer support. And all these seemingly small acts of care, they said, restored our hope in goodness and in love. And after a few months, as a part of their healing and recovery, the congregation decided to craft an entire worship service where everyone in the congregation could reflect during worship on what the church meant to them, really meant to them. And they wrote this down, or they drew it in small bits of art, and then they added that to the hung cards in their sanctuary. And a group of artists in the church came up with an idea to collaboratively create 3 pieces of art in the form of massive mixed media banners that were framed in wood to capture the blessings discovered during this time of grief and atrocity. The first was made from pieces of the cards that they had received and had stuck up all over the building, arranged in the shape of a massive heart to symbolize the love and compassion felt in their community and which surrounded them. The second was a tree, with each leaf containing a word that was written down during that worship service, describing what the church meant to its people. The third, a huge chalice to, quote, remind us of our faith that holds and sustains us through difficult times. And at the bottom of the chalice were all these smaller little chalices also cut out from the cards they received. And while these artists were working hard on these banners, the church received a surprise package one day. The Unitarian Universalist Church in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, that's 1,500 miles away. I Google mapped it. Sent them 1,000 hand-folded origami paper cranes in just a box with a note that read, "A prayer to let you know we are thinking about you." Their resident artists strung those paper cranes into this beautiful hanging mobile that just 1 year after the attack was hung up in their sanctuary along with all of the other banners and art. And this is the written dedication that hangs in their sanctuary now as well. We dedicate these banners and art to all who are here and to all those in the future who will walk through these doors to see them. May they bless this place. May they bless each one who is touched by them, and may they connect us together with one another with creativity, beauty, goodness, and compassion. The full story and pictures of all of their art is featured in the current UU World magazine. And the title of this piece, written by them, is called Beauty from Ashes. Beauty from Ashes, now a part of their story. And I think, how strange how beauty can so often descend or arise out of ashes. How strange. I think a lot about the nature of beauty, what constitutes it, what its opposite is, how I cultivate it, how I can detract from it too, because I'm a human. Often it can be hidden, right? Unexpected, elusive, for it's not just one thing, only to be seen in one way or seen at all. It doesn't require sight to know beauty. We know that. It's often subjective, but it can also be collective. And beauty is so much more than surface prettiness. Beauty is a paradox, too. Or even hellishness can reveal strange beauties. I know that I feel something. This is my guiding compass. I feel something when I encounter real beauty or attempt to create it. I can feel it in my body. Sometimes it feels like peace, like sitting in a garden or seeing the silhouettes of trees against the sky. Sometimes awe. The beauty of a place, its aesthetics, a piece of music, Claire de Lune, a campfire. And other times beauty feels like it's something happening inside in response to something, and maybe my heart is even melting, and there's something beautiful about the melt, like when our altar of remembrance was created a few weeks ago, right? Or when I imagine those cards strewn up on the walls of that sanctuary. When I watch people run into each other's arms, suitcases abandoned at the international terminal of an airport. So beautiful. Holy sites do hold great beauty. Their construction seemed to place it as its highest aspiration, right? For some, this is how they showed their love for the divine, spared no expense. How could they spare any expense to build holy houses for Buddha or Krishna, Jesus, Muhammad, the goddesses of the Mayan civilization, or the Egyptian sun god Ra? But not every holy site has had the same operating budgets as others. And one need only go into the caves of Botswana, India, France, Greece, and so many others and stand before the Paleolithic and Neolithic carvings and paintings, all done with what? Shards of rock and paint mixed with berries and plants, to feel bowled over in the face of such beauty. Such beauty. No, beauty isn't just about wealth or extravagance. And it certainly can't be reduced to mere frivolity. It's something more. It's something more. I recently watched the 5-part Martin Scorsese documentary about his life, where he describes his childhood story growing up in the Italian ghetto of New York City's East Side in the 40s and 50s, living in tenement housing, surrounded by what he calls waste and violence and horror and ugliness, and feeling the change in his body when he crossed the threshold to the church. A place, he said, of indescribable beauty which we didn't have anywhere else. He said it felt like peace from the chaos to sit amid that beauty. The great Russian novelist Dostoevsky boldly wrote that the world will be saved by beauty. Now, this is a man who knew harsh poverty and worked in hard labor camps in Siberia for long stretches of his life. The world will be saved by beauty. Social activist Dorothy Day, whose life was devoted to living among, feeding, and housing the poor, was so inspired by Dostoevsky's conceptions of life-saving beauty that she said she simply couldn't have carried on with a loving heart without a devotion to beauty for herself and for everyone, that it is for everyone. Day was convinced that it was God's great gift to humans to create and to receive beauty. Everyone, she believed, deserved the dignities of beauty. Yes, even in the form of diamonds, she said. They're for everyone. One of my favorite things about being a minister in a church is to know myself to be a curator of beauty. I see part of my call and role as a minister to be that. A curator of beauty, which I also call the holy, in this space. Not only in the crafting of worship and through prayer and presence and the best of my ability, but in other ways too. Some of you have dropped by church during the week and you've caught me in here, what I call fussing, arranging your beeswax taper candles at the back so that they sit in a straight line. I do that. Or I draw my hand every single week in a circle, a spiral circle of sand for you before your next Sunday service. I carefully line up these chairs that you are sitting in right now as a blessing of beauty. I iron our altar cloths. I do. I center the chalice as best I can with the stained glass circle on this pulpit, and thank you, Kathy Warren, for putting the flowers that line up with that circle in the aisle. I straighten every candle, and I love this part of my week. I don't do this because I'm a perfectionist or a control freak, or because I can't tolerate disorder or untidiness. That really isn't who I am. If you knew me, if you ask my family, they will tell you that is true. That's not me. I do this for the beauty of it. Capital B, beauty, which I hope you then feel as peace or awe or love. The possibility of beauty in a world that can feel and look so vile holds power. It holds power. Dostoevsky and Day were onto something. Beauty does have a way of saving us. It certainly saved our beloveds in Texas. And my thinking is that if we can agree that we are all called to be curators of beauty in one way or another, then we better know where to get our tanks filled up. And I hope that church is one of those places. The poet Baron Wormser asks, what would happen if you heeded the admonitions of beauty? Reverend Karen Johnston asks, what to do with beauty? And I think this is up to each of us to answer honestly for ourselves and to hold ourselves accountable to it. Curating beauty in our sanctuary is one small way. I heed the admonitions of it. And I try to be a bodily bearer of it too, share beauty through compassion and kindness, love, grace. Justice making is certainly heeding the admonitions of beauty. And so is taking care of each of our bodies and finding beauty in their imperfections and asking for what they need and claiming it. Isn't that beauty? Most of the time when I think about Reverend Karen's charge, which Laura read so beautifully earlier, where there is beauty, amplify it. Where beauty is hidden, reveal it. Where beauty is ruined, restore it. Where beauty is absent, create it. That this will be our gift to an aching world. When I consider this, what comes to mind are the millions and millions of small beauties. The mind-boggling abundance of tiny, beautiful things and acts that change the course of lives without us ever knowing it, really. And maybe it is true what the ancients said, that it is pursuing us in some way, and that our cups brimmeth over with it. A card sent. A bell rung. A joy or sorrow shared. An apple in the community fridge. A cushion offered for your head. A buffalo painted on a cave wall. A protest song sung arm in arm with perfect strangers. 1,000 hand-folded paper cranes boxed and shipped from New Jersey to Texas. We can't possibly count or measure beauty, nor can we ever really be certain about what exactly it is or isn't, or how it might unexpectedly save the world or save a grieving community. But we can look for it. We can put some semblance of faith in it. We can try to heed it. We can try to be amplifiers of it. We can try to be revealers of it. We can be restorers of it. We can be creators of it. Surely this is the gift each of us has to give our aching world, and surely, I say, it is our birthright to receive. And I hope in the coming days and weeks you might think about how the multitudes of beauty are in your midst. Lift up a bit of thanks in this season of gratitude and thanks. And also know where it's missing. See where it's missing and do something about it. That is my prayer for us all. May beauty hold us and keep us today and on all days. And to that I say amen.